Actually, writing the songs for me is the most difficult part. It's very, very gratifying, but it's not particularly. It's not instant gratification, shall we say. The thing that I love about live performance is that it's a very immediate transaction sort of that happens between performer and audience, and there's no room for second guessing. There's no time for any of that. I love the immediacy of that. Writing and recording rather are there's a delay. There's a time delay, and you go and you make a record and it takes months and you don't really get a reaction for a long time, and the same is really true of writing. So they're very different, but I really love all three of those processes, and I don't think I'd be happy, giving any one of them up. I do love performing live, though. I do love it, and it seems to me the more I do it, then the more we tour over there, for instance, the more I want to do it. It's very gratifying to be in front of an audience that wants to be there and is very keyed in and tuned into the lyrics especially.
How do you decide what to play, though? Because with such a massive back catalogue, and the fans particularly have their own choice of what they want you to play.
They do, and it's funny you mentioned that, because every time I come back, there'll be 2 or 3 more favorites, and we think, well, we have to play that, and we can't get away with not playing that, and so the show gets longer and longer. And just the other day I was looking at the song list and thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to add these 3 because we've just started playing these and they're great. So okay, that makes a 2-hour show. So we have to be careful. But one thing I've figured out is that you don't have to play the same show every night. But if they're bold enough to yell out the song title, we'll do it.
Just about every time CMT do their top 20 of one thing or another, one of your songs is in it. In fact, the 20 greatest city songs featured on A Bus to St. Cloud, didn't it, quite recently?
It did, and I was so thrilled about that, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the U.S., On a Bus to St. Cloud was not a hit song. The version that was released here was Trisha Yearwood's version, which was gorgeous, beautifully sung and recorded, and it didn't do very well. And as I started touring in the UK, I noticed that people, they really responded to that song, and that was probably more requested than Independence Day. So I started playing it a lot more, and even over here, where it didn't do so well, it somehow cut through, and people remember it and they request it. So I was really thrilled when CMT called and they said that On a Bus to St. Cloud was on that list of greatest city songs. I thought there was some vindication in that.
We talked about this as well last time you were on the programme, because I assumed that St. Cloud there are a number of St. Clouds across the States, but the only one I know is actually in Florida. But this isn't Florida at all, is it?
No, this is the one in Minnesota. And actually, I had never been there at the time that I wrote the song. I was planning a car trip and got lost looking at the map. Maps are just fascinating to me. That there's so many great place names. And I somehow ended up in Minnesota, in the figurative sense, on the map anyway, and saw this name St. Cloud, and I thought, what a gorgeous, beautiful, evocative name, and there must be a song somewhere in there.
And what about the phone? Does it keep ringing? Do you get the famous names ringing? Say, can I cover that? Can I do this song? Can I have that one? Faith Hill or whoever?
Well, it helps. It's sort of a leg up, if you will, to have had relationships like that. Like my relationship with Martina McBride, for instance. She's recorded 4 or 5 of my songs, and it's nice to have someone kind of come to you, but you still have to deliver the song, really, ultimately. And I think this is the way that it should be. I'm still in competition, although I don't like to view it as a competition. I'm still, right in there with the brand new songwriter, because it's ultimately about the song winning out. And I've been on both sides of the equation. I've been the songwriter, but I've also been the artist trying to make a record that feels right and makes sense to me. And it's a hard thing to do as an artist. You have songwriters that you love, but you really have to find the songs first and foremost. Well,
the danger is that you end up writing to order. You get a commission for a song, and I don't think that's the way you work, really, is it?
It's definitely not the way I work, and I wouldn't be any good at it. There are people that are very good at that, but I find that my motivation really, really has to come from within. And I sort of, when I sit down to write, I tell myself over and over again, I say to myself, keep the editors and the publishers out of this room. And I mean sort of mentally, I have to think about what I want to say and what the song needs to say, as opposed to who would cut it or all of that sort of business-related stuff. Otherwise, you just sort of taint everything.